Welcome back to Dark Horse Auto and Diesel. Today I'm going to show you how to possibly fix a wandering steering issue. I know my steering here wanders more than a drunk homeless man, and one of these days I'm probably going to get pulled over on suspicion of drunk driving. If your truck is like mine here, you know all of your other joints are good, your ball joints, your tie rod ends, drag link, all this stuff. I know all that stuff is good on mine, because I've replaced some of it here recently. Never mind the excess grease. But one thing that I haven't replaced is the track bar bushings. And the track bar is this bar here that runs behind the drag link. Bolts to the axle there, bolts to the frame up here. And if you look, my bushings are not really looking too good. And that is a potential cause for wandering steering, and I actually get a delay in my steering too. I'll turn the wheel and then it's like the truck doesn't, it takes a second before it actually starts turning, and that gets kind of sketchy. And even just driving straight in the wind, it tends to wander all over the highway. I'm hoping that this fixes that problem, and we're going to find that out, and I'm going to show you all how to replace those bushings here. You can buy a whole track bar that has the bushings already in it, but I'm too cheap to do that, and I'd probably, rather spend 3 hours putting new bushings in and cussing at it, and in the end, wishing I'd have just bought the whole thing. But yeah, we'll see how that all goes. So the first thing you're gonna do is take these two bolts out. It's actually pretty simple. Just one bolt there, and then another bolt there. And depending on your suspension setup and stuff, I've seen other trucks where you have to actually remove the drag link from the pitman arm up here. Just take that off, and that'll allow you to swing this out of the way. Obviously, it's not going to be necessary on this truck. I don't know if it's just because the front springs are so wore out or what the deal is, but I don't have to mess with it. So those are 30 millimeter, I guess. I don't have a 30 millimeter socket, but I do have an 1 3/16", which seems to be working pretty well. These are extremely tight. The factory torque spec on these, I think, was 369 foot-pounds, depending on the year. We'll go over that in a little bit. So my impact wouldn't touch it. So I've got a nice long pipe on a 3/4 inch ratchet here, and I've already got this one broke loose a little bit. It's just going to be pretty difficult. Well, I've got it broke loose, and the impact still ain't touching it, so we're going to go back to this route here. My truck is a 2001, and the spec on that out of the factory is 369 foot-pounds. So when it comes to torquing this back down at the end, just do the best you can. As long as it's tight. I don't think you're going to get it tight enough with hand tools to break it. Just get it tight enough that it doesn't come loose on you. This is going to be quite the pain. I picked the perfect day to do this too, because it's like 90-something degrees outside. Stupid humid. You get the idea there. Let's see what I can do with this other one. Might be able to get the pipe in there. Giggity. Oh, a little bit. Alright, we'll come back to this in a minute. Right, now that I've got both of them broke loose, this is where it's really handy if your truck leaks a whole bunch of oil like mine used to. It kind of keeps everything lubricated and keeps it from getting seized up underneath. To an extent. gonna work on your truck on a really hot day, I'd recommend not drinking the night before. I'd also recommend not being a smoker. You know, nobody makes all the right decisions in life. Now, one thing to make note of, when this comes apart, the truck body and frame may shift separate from the axle. That's the whole idea of this bar, is to keep your chassis and your axle, front axle, kind of centered together, riding with each other, which is why if these bushings wear out, it can cause your steering to wander and stuff like that, because the body is basically moving independently from the front axle. So just be aware of that it may shift on you, which can cause issues getting it back together, but we'll cover that later on in the video. Yeah, it's a big bolt. Mine didn't really seem to shift. Alright, so that end's loose. I'm gonna go ahead and pop that one off. Please work. Yeah. There's that. Alright, so next we're going to press out the old bushings. You don't have to use a press. Some people burn them out. I don't like that idea because you could ruin the temper on the metal. You can try beating them out with a hammer, but you'll be here all day cussing and yelling, and that's no fun. Now, pressing them out is really the best option, and as you can see, I've already got it set up here. With the press I have, it came with these little arbor plates here. There's two small round spots there. Those seem to work pretty well to hold this. And then I've got a socket on there just to push this out. It's going to make some pretty unsettling noises, at least the last one did. Just the rubber tearing. Oh, a pair of these would probably be a good idea too, if you value your vision. There, we're starting to get some noise. Yeah, now it's starting to go a little easier. Alright, that's about as far as it's going to go there. And then, since your socket's definitely going to be stuck in that rubber, let me get everything set back up here a little bit. Grab a little bit smaller socket. Push that the rest of the way through. I've always heard you're not supposed to use sockets in presses. Supposedly because they're so hard they can explode. So I'd recommend finding a little better tool to use for this, but you can use sockets too if you're not a complete idiot about it. And have good health insurance. All right. And then you can just peel out what's left in there. Now if you're going with the polyurethane bushings like I am, you'll need to remove this little extra metal piece in here. Just take a Sawzall and try not to cut all the way through it. I did on the other side, but I didn't get too bad, so it'll be all right. And once you get most of the way through it, you should be able to pop it up. Putting that slit in it just kind of relieves some of the tension. So it should come out pretty easy. Alright, so once you've got the metal part of the old bushing out of there, you can take a scuff pad or something and just kind of clean up some of the rust and corrosion that's inevitably going to be all over this thing. Good enough for me. Alright, so this next part here is probably going to result in a lot of cussing. You're probably going to want to get drunk after doing this because it's going to take you off quite a bit. So what you want to do is dish soap is actually a better lubricant for this part. It comes with some grease. I don't know where I put it. Where'd it go? Yeah, whatever, doesn't matter. You don't really want to use that grease that comes with it for the installation part here because it's really sticky and every little piece of dust and dirt is going to get stuck to it. I tried and it doesn't work very well. So just douse the thing in dish soap, and you're going to want to put some inside the housing as well. Make sure you get some around the outside here. If you haven't attempted this yet, you're about to see why it's such a pain. Be generous with the soap, because you know that's why it's such a problem. On mine, this side's chamfered a little better than the other, so we'll push it in from this side here, and now's when the fun begins. I tried this in the press earlier, and that's why we don't use that grease, because everything sticks to it. But I tried the press earlier and it really didn't work very well. The bushing just kept trying to launch out every time I'd start getting some pressure on it. Just kind of start tightening it up a little bit, or a lot. And it should eventually, well, okay, that's gonna happen a couple times. I'll just try again. Took me about 3 tries on the last one, so hopefully I can get it in 2 on this one. And when it starts, you can kind of see it starting to go in there. When it starts doing that, you can kind of work it a little bit, try to get it in there. No, don't pop out of the vise. Come on. No, no. Okay. Attempt number 3. These polyurethane bushings suck to install, as you can clearly see. Alright, it's starting to go in on that side. So what you can do too is grab like some channel locks or something and just kind of squeeze it a little bit to try to make it slide in. There's all kinds of dirty jokes you could insert here at this part. I'm going to try to keep it PG-13 here. Oh, she's starting to go. Oh, uh-oh. Come on. Oh, come on. Starting to go again. Most likely you're going to feel like you're going to ruin this bushing doing this, but you won't. These polyurethane freaking serious? These polyurethane bushings are pretty tough. And if you do run it, just take it back to the parts store. Come on. And sometimes you can wiggle the bar around to try to, there we go. All right, so it's partway in. Now, yeah, with these track bar bushings, what is that, 1 13/16, just kind of fits over. So we'll put it on that side, and then just push her the rest of the way in. Try to keep it pretty well centered up. And then, I don't know if you can hear that on the video. I'll find out when I do the editing. But you can kind of hear some snapping sounds. That's actually the little head, if you want to call it that, popping through on the other side. So yeah, that looks good. Clean the dirt up here, out of here, because you're pretty much guaranteed to have gotten some in there. And then now, when I find the grease, now is where you want to use the grease. Alright, so here's the grease that came with it. And then just apply a liberal amount in it, around it. Make sure you get some around the outside there. Try to get some of the condensation off of that. If it's super humid out, maybe this isn't the greatest idea to freeze it, but it'll be alright. Go ahead and get that on there before water collects back on it. Just try to get it pretty square and squeeze her in. Perfect. And that actually is pretty well flush on both sides. Just definitely make sure you get the hole nice and lubed up here. Oh, really? And that is why you don't use the grease for the whole thing. Nope. You get down there. Huh, it's not even that dirty. Come on. Good enough. I mean, it goes on the other side of the truck, so you know, a little dirt's not a problem because it's going to get dirty anyway, right? All right, now at this point we can get the bar put back in. Might need a hammer to persuade that in a little bit. And I would recommend using one of the dead blow variety. Keep from doing any damage to your bar. And your nuts get that little clip on it. It'll just clip on the back side there. Get your bolt started. Alright, and once you feel it poking through on the back side, you know you got it started. Back side of the nut, that is. Come up here and do the same thing. Now at this point, hopefully you get lucky and your suspension is in about the right spot. If not, you might have to use a ratchet strap to pull the body one way or the other to get that centered back up. But mine's looking pretty good there. Good enough. And then same deal here, that clips in there. And then get your bolt ran into it. End of the bolt sticking through the nut. So now we can go ahead and start getting it snugged up. And with this, unless you've got like the world's strongest impact, you can probably just go ahead and run it down as tight as you can get it. I'm sure that's not even close to what the actual torque spec's supposed to be. And yeah, forgot about that. Oh, look, natural weight reduction. Now you should probably not be an idiot like me and you have to take your bolts back out because you forgot to put grease in there. So that's what we're gonna do now. You gotta be pretty, just kind of, yeah, there you go. Slap some in there. Normally I wouldn't encourage greasing up the threads on a bolt because it changes the torque spec, but given the situation here that we're not gonna be torquing it down to the actual torque spec because I don't have a torque wrench that goes that high, this will actually maybe help the situation a little bit and maybe allow it to get close to the proper torque. Alright, here we go back again. I don't know why I didn't think of this here earlier, other than the fact that sometimes I'm an idiot. Alright, so here's the torque specs, and you can see why it was so fun getting them off and why it's going to be fun getting everything back together. I don't know why the changes throughout the model years, other than they may be referring to early 99s on that one. I don't know if the track bar is different or not, but yeah, on mine here, 2000 to 2002, 369 foot-pounds. So if I weigh 180 pounds and I have a 2-foot bar and I put all of my weight on it, that'll almost get me there. That would be, 360 foot-pounds. So that's what I'm gonna try to do. Get a cheater pipe on there and try to get pretty much all of my body weight hanging off of it. I'm gonna try this without a pipe. 2-foot breaker bar times 180 pounds equals 360. It's greased, so lubricated threads, they figure you can take about 10% off of your final torque spec. So we'll see how this goes. I don't even know how I'm gonna do this. Oh boy, one click at a time. Lovely. So we're gonna get real nice and technical here, and I think right about there is about the 2-foot mark. So we'll go out to about the 3-foot mark and then just reduce it a little bit. Yep, that's not going anywhere. Alright, and this one over here, I'm just gonna kind of guess on it. Yep, that's not going anywhere. Alright, that's it. Take her for a test drive, and hopefully she doesn't wobble anymore.